Tonight on Obscured Reality, join us as we take an adventurous ride inside the haunted Golden Corral restaurant at Disneyland, California. Let's take a look at some of the alleged hauntings that have happened in and around the Golden Corral restaurant. Let's see what you think. Sit down, sit back, relax, and join us on our journey through Obscured Reality.
Welcome to another episode of Obscured Reality. Join your hosts, Mark and Stephanie, as they take you through a journey of the extraordinary, bizarre, and often frightening world of the unknown. Explore topics of the paranormal, UFOs, alien abduction, lost civilizations, mythical monsters, and other unexplained mysteries. Come along with us as we transcend into another dimension of obscured reality.
Welcome back to Obscured Reality. We are your hosts, Mark and Stevie, tonight. How's it going, Stevie?
Pretty good.
Good to hear. We got a little different one for you tonight. This will be interesting. I think we haven't done this yet. And I was really intrigued by these stories, plural. So
Okay.
we'll get into it in a minute. Hey, quick question. Have you ever been to Disneyland?
Yes.
Yeah. The Disneyland in California or Florida?
Both. Do I remember
Okay.
either one? No.
Too young.
Yes. Too young.
That's too bad.
Remember when I was in the earthquake out there?
Mm-hmm.
That was when I went. So I was way too young to remember it clearly.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, have you ever heard any rumors about any weird happenings at Disneyland in California?
Not too much weird happenings, but I do know that the only weird happening that I know is that people like to spread the ashes of their loved ones around the property, which, by the way, you're not allowed to do. Don't do it.
Well, that's
people.
not really weird. I mean, people do weird shit like that.
That's true. That's as far as weird as I am aware of. But now, if this is like a haunting, I am all about this story.
Oh, it is. There are lots and lots and lots of stories out there about this ride or that ride or whatever is haunted at Disneyland. And I've seen plenty of videos where you the second you see them, you can easily call bullshit. They're just, a lot of the ones I've seen they're literally just crap. It's just people looking for clicks and likes and stuff.
Yeah.
However, about, I don't know, a year or two ago, I came across a couple videos from this guy. This guy, well, I'm going to show you a picture of him. His name is, on YouTube, his name is Alex the Historian. Here's a photo of this guy. When it comes up there, you see him there?
Okay. Yep.
That is Alex the Historian.
Okay.
Now, he's got a YouTube channel. Obviously, it's called Alex the Historian. His channel is not about hauntings and paranormal and stuff like that. However, this guy used to work at Disneyland for quite some time. And, I came across his part 1 video. He's got 3 parts to this, and quite a while back. And, I'll watch videos like that, even if I think they're BS, as long as they kind of keep me intrigued. I'll watch them, not a big deal. And I have remembered his stories for quite some time, and I came about deciding, hey, let's do a show on some of these hauntings, because his stories are personal stories. He has his part 3 episode is stories that he's heard from other people that work there, and he's picked, I think, it sounds like the better, more believable ones. But these stories are all from him. Now, when you hear this guy talk on his channel, I'd recommend you check it out. But
Yeah.
when you hear him talk, he seems like a really super cool guy, completely down to earth, very nice
Mm-hmm.
person, and
Mm-hmm.
he comes across completely legit, just completely an honest person. Really nice guy. Like, I'd love to meet him. I actually shot him an email to see if he'd like to come on and tell us stories. I've not heard
Ooh.
back from him, but
Oh.
so you never know if he eventually gets across his emails and doesn't think it's spam. Maybe, who knows? But
Yeah.
his stories are really interesting. They're really believable. He
Mm-hmm.
even tells you, he's like, this thing over here, maybe this was something else. I don't know, but it was weird to me, and I really think it was something paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go through a little story here. Well, a few of his stories. So um, there's a restaurant. Everyone, most of you who at least live in California, Southern California, have been to Disneyland quite a bit. You'll know there's a restaurant called the Golden Horseshoe. Have you heard of that, Stevie? Probably not.
Look, so here's the thing. I know more about like Walt Disney World than I do Walt
Yeah,
Disneyland simply because I am an East Coaster.
it's not Walt Disneyland. It's Disneyland.
Whatever.
Don't you ever say that out here or anywhere.
Walt Disneyland.
Oh, well, whatever. So
Irregardless.
the yeah. So our first story from him is about Freddy, not Freddy Krueger, but Paranormal Freddy. So next to Golden Horseshoe, there's also is the another little restaurant. It's called the Stage Door Cafe. Directly next to it. Let's see. We got some photos here. So there's a picture right there. You can see the
Mm-hmm.
Golden Horseshoe, and we moved next to it. There's the Stage Door Cafe.
Okay, so we're
It
like
has,
in Yesterland, I'm
I don't know,
assuming.
but it has a little balcony up there.
Kind of cute.
So
Okay.
yeah, when you look up from the street, you'll see those three French doors right there. So
Mm-hmm.
that is actually a storage room, and it's only accessible through one door on the second level inside of the Golden Horseshoe. So
So that,
where do
I mean
we?
that makes sense.
So
That's a storage room up there. Trump?
yeah, yeah.
What?
So as you walk through, I have some pictures we'll see a little bit later where you'll see the door that enters it from the second level, and the second level has tables so people can eat there as well. Um, so as you walk through the small storage room, you go in that door, you walk through a small storage room. There's another door at the end, which goes into a much smaller storage room. So, if you see this picture I'm showing you right now of the Stage Door Cafe, you see the last two French doors.
Mm-hmm.
You see to the right of that kind of like peach colored, salmon colored building that's a little bit lower than the Stage Door Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay, that top part of that's kind of level with the Stage Door Cafe second level,
Mm-hmm.
that's the other storage room. It's got a really small door to get in,
So it's
and
like a crawl space.
it's
Okay.
very small inside.
Mm.
Okay, so let's keep that in mind here. So you go in there, smaller storage room. Um, so this guy Freddie, he was a Disneyland employee for a long time ago, at least. He was an elderly guy. He worked the third shift, which is at night when the park closes.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you an idea, here's someone working the third shift after the park closes. This particular person, this is not Freddie. This particular person's out blowing leaves and doing whatever to clean stuff up. So just an example of third shift here. This guy Freddie, he used to take naps in that back storage room on his lunch breaks in the middle of the night. So that's that second storage room. You go in the main one,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go through that small door in that other one. So he had some stuff in there, and he would take his naps in there on his lunch breaks. So supposedly he had a heart attack in there one night. Obviously died. Um, So Alex, the historian, he says that at times when having to get things from storage, while in the room, he would look over and Freddy's door would be open. Um, Sometimes he would hear banging from the other side of the door. He said the banging was so real, he thought someone was in there, and he even looked numerous times, and there's no one there. If I recall, I want to say he actually saw the door open, but either way, the door should have been closed, but it was open. Whatever, not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a photo that was on his video when he did this. Now, I don't know if that's an edited video. Obviously, you see that shadow back there.
Oh, clear as day.
Yeah, right. Silhouette. And that's right around where that door is. That's probably edited. I don't know if there's any validity to it. He didn't mention anything. This is just different things playing while he's talking. Okay. So we'll go to our second story from Alex. One night at the end of his shift, Alex was in the Golden Horseshoe with other cast members. One girl went up into the storage rooms, into Freddy's room, to get a box. There's something she had to get before they left for the night and bring that back down so that the morning employees would have access or whatnot. So that's it. So she had to go in Freddy's room to get this box. So she was gone for a while. It should have just been like a minute, She was gone for a while. So another employee went to go get her and came out with the girl. She had her arm around her, and the girl who was missing had scratches on her face. She said that when she went in there, the door shut behind her really fast, and she could not get it open. She thought someone was on the other side of the door holding it shut because the door, number one, had no locks on it. Yeah, weird. And she thought someone was holding it shut because the door, she'd try to open it and it would have some pull to it, but then it would get pulled back and shut. She was inside there for about 10 minutes. Once the door opened, no one was there. This is when the other employee walked in. So the other employee walked in the first storage room, and then basically what was going on stopped. This is when the other employee walked in. So she was actually seen by a nurse because she was fairly traumatized from it. Scared the crap out of her. After that, no one was allowed in there alone. He also said there's numerous other stories of employees getting locked in that room. And again, there's no lock on the door. Now, this came straight from Alex. He was actually there that night. So he witnessed this, at least the other girl going up to get her and bring her out. And the fact that this girl was gone for an abnormal
amount of time.
length of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Freddy did not
kind of
like
weird
her.
here. Freddy, I just don't think wants anyone in his room. That's what it sounds like to me.
Interrupting his naps.
Yeah. So we'll move
His
on.
forever nap.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on. So the third story. One night, Alex was upstairs stacking chairs after closing. Let's see what we got for pictures here. So this is a picture of upstairs. So you have the second level that's closest to the camera here in the tables. And you can see the downstairs with the stage and all that.
Yeah.
So he was stacking chairs. I believe he said they were stacking them on the tables. And other employees went to a different building to cash out the registers. So he was basically the only one in there. He heard banging from inside the storage again. He opened the door, and of course, no
one's there.
Was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he continued his work, his job, and he kept hearing the banging. He said to himself out loud, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe Freddy's real. I think someone's playing a trick on me. He says that after he said that, there was a stack of 4 chairs that he had stacked up on the table. He said that stack of 4 chairs was flung off the balcony, landing in the center of the restaurant. So not just like, happened to fall over the rails, which you see on top of that rail is another rail, a golden metal rail. And these actually landed out in the middle. of the
I would
restaurant.
have noped the fuck out of there and shit
Yeah,
my
sorry,
pants
guys, I quit.
simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how could you not? You know what? You know what I always find interesting?
Mm.
How the paranormal, you always hear stories like this.
Mm.
Um, they always seem able to manipulate any object in their surrounding, but just not humans. You know, like do they,
Well,
if they're real, do they really care about these people and they just don't want to hurt them? So instead of flinging Alex off the balcony, let's fling the chairs off. You know?
I think that I heard something like a long time ago, probably watching Ghost Adventures, that it's like the amount of effort it takes to impact a human and the amount of effort it takes to impact like an inanimate object is different.
Well,
Um,
obviously, yeah.
Obviously,
I
but
mean,
I mean, like, I can only imagine that, yeah, to interact with another human would probably take more out of a spirit than just be like, fuck these chairs.
yeah. I mean, if they're real, I'm obviously it's.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a physical touch. It'd be some type
Mm.
of energy.
Yeah,
I'd
but
assume it would.
to move something to like a chair, but versus like the energy in order to create a mark on a human body, I feel like it
Yeah,
would just be more to produce something like that. I would just
I don't
assume.
know.
Never being dead, I wouldn't know, but I could assume.
Yeah. Well, you know, I
Mm,
don't know. I mean, he's very trustworthy. Here's another picture inside
mm.
the restaurant, so you can
It's
get a good
literally
idea
shaped
from
like a horseshoe. That's
downstairs.
cute. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get an idea from the downstairs, where that
Hmm.
balcony is up there, and how far those chairs would have to travel to wind up in the center of the room. You know,
I wonder how many people had to fall from the second story in order to get
who
that second
knows?
balcony put in, the second railing.
You know, it's like, why do coffee cups from McDonald's say "caution, hot coffee"? I mean, duh.
Be- well, I mean, there
Yeah,
was a lawsuit in the 90s and somehow she won.
exactly my point.
Hmm.
And she shouldn't have. All right,
No.
next story. Next story before I get on a pissed off tangent on that one.
Oh, God.
So, in front of the stage, let's pull up a picture first. Keep an eye on that picture. It's
Super
not
cute.
gonna do anything. But
Oh, okay,
so
thank
in
you.
front of the stage, there's two booths. There's one booth on the right and
Mhm.
one on the left of the stage, and you see them. They're
Same.
at the ground level. Upstairs looks like booths. I don't believe they are. They could be, but we're focusing on the two on the ground floor.
Right.
So Walt Disney, his booth was the booth that's on the right, and his brother Roy, his booth was on the left. So when Walt was staying at Disneyland or he'd come over, he'd always go in there and watch the shows and blah blah blah. He'd be in that right booth. When his brother Roy came out, he'd obviously had the left side booth to himself. So one night, Alex, the historian here, he was cleaning up and he looked over at Walt's booth and the chairs. He noticed the chairs were not stacked. So he, he had said in there, he's like, I had thought to myself, that's weird. Like, how did I miss that?
Hmm.
So he went over there. He went over to the booth to stack them, and he saw that one of the chairs was leaning up towards the railing as if to be looking out over the restaurant. I don't know. He doesn't have a drawing or anything or a picture example of this, so I'm not 100% clear on what he means by the chair was leaning up towards the railing, but I think it's fairly clear. It wasn't where it was supposed to be. Obviously, nobody was in that booth, I
Hmm.
would imagine, unless people are. I've seen pictures with people in there, so they probably are. So he basically stacked the chairs, did his work, and he walked away. And once he walked away, he heard rustling from the booth. He went back over there, and the chair was back, leaning out towards the railing. uh, yeah.
I am a very firm believer in the paranormal. And as much as I would love to have an experience, I never want it to be like that.
I wouldn't, if that stuff's real, man, I'd love to have an experience, but not alone and not at night where I would not have light if
I've
light
told
went
you
out,
my
you know?
stories. I've told you my stories.
Well, I
Nighttime
got
is
a
the
story for
creepiest.
you. Yeah, I have a story coming up from me, but it's only because it relates to one of Alex's stories, which is
Hmm.
kind of interesting. Yeah. Um, so let's see. We're going to move on here. So, Alex, uh, there's other claims that if you get to the Golden Horseshoe early in the morning, so 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, so this would
Mm-hmm.
be right before the park opens. He said in the Golden Horseshoe around that time, people started to smell cigar smoke. Obviously, you know where this is going. As
Mm.
employees were setting things up, it would begin to smell like cigars. So supposedly, Walt Disney used to have breakfast across the street at the Carnation Cafe. Then he would go to the Golden Horseshoe and smoke a cigar before the park opened. And there was a particular spot somewhere in there where you could see out over like the rivers of America or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
um, he'd look out over there and watch as guests started flooding into the park, basically. Um, so that was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, uh, we've heard stories like that before, where associated smells with people
Mm-hmm.
after they die come back, perfume, cologne, things
Yep.
like that.
Absolutely.
All right, let's
Hmm.
see here. Next one here. Here's our next story from Alex. He said that before he ever worked at Disneyland, his dad actually worked at the hotels at Disneyland. So Alex his dad would let him and sometimes some friends in for the day,
Mm-hmm.
This was quite some time ago, so it was much easier to do. I'm sure he just let him in. Who knows? But he'd let him and his friends in for the day or whatever. And so this one day, um, he had gone in Disneyland, did his thing, and Alex would wait in the Disneyland lobby. I would assume this is I believe, the Disneyland hotel lobby at
Mm-hmm.
night before his dad got off. And we're talking pretty late at night, too. So there used to be a bathroom in the lobby that was downstairs. It's not like that today, but back then the bathroom for the lobby was downstairs. So you had to walk off to the side, go down some stairs, and there's a bathroom. Let's see if we have a picture here. There's the lobby right there.
Okay.
Nothing extravagant. That's probably newer. There's a bathroom. So the bathroom supposedly was haunted, which he was unaware of at the time. He did not know about this. So when this happened to him, when he had this experience, he did not know at this point that there was supposed paranormal hauntings happening.
Scare the shit out of
So
you.
yeah, once when he was using the bathroom, sounds like he was in the stall. He heard someone come in. He thought it was odd because it was about 1 in the morning, 1 a.m. And no one in the lobby, there was no one in the lobby that would have been coming in. Makes sense. I mean, 1 a.m., right? So he heard them using the urinal and washed their hands. He came out of the stall and the sink was running, but there was no one there. He opened the door and looked out of the restroom, and there was no one there. He was looking around for someone walking away. No one. No one there. A few weeks later, he used the restroom again, and he heard people whispering in the restroom. He came out of the stall, and of course, there was nobody there, and the talking stopped. He mentioned these odd things that were happening that he noticed to his dad, and his dad said that he's heard of guests saying that they've experienced weird things in there as well. Yeah, which he probably never
Hmm.
told him, being younger, because he didn't want to scare him or something. He knew he
Right.
loved Disneyland, right? So
Hmm.
so
Okay.
I have a story to go along with that one real quick. Um, Place I used to work, office building, 6-story office building. This is no joke. A possible explanation as well. So, I'll be honest about that. So, restrooms. We're right back to restrooms here. So there were numerous times I had been in those restrooms and I would hear the door open, like someone come in, right? Wouldn't necessarily hear them, but I'd hear the door open. And I just kind of tune it out. You just hear it kind of subconsciously off to the side. I'm sitting there looking at a video or something on my phone, right? So I notice it, but I don't pay attention. I just assume someone comes in, does their thing, whatever, and they go finish up. They leave, and you hear the door again, and that's it. Um, this happened quite a bit, and one time it wasn't. It was very quick after I heard the door open, and there was no one in there when I went in. It wasn't long after I heard the door open. I got up, I was done, and I walked out of the stall, and I was completely expecting someone to be at the urinal on the right. There was no one there. I was like, what the fuck? And I looked around the wall where the sinks were because I was going in there. There's no one in there. And I'm like, the door literally just opened. I heard the thing open and close. And I went out and I looked and there's like no one walking around.
Nope.
This happened a couple times working overtime, meaning like on a weekend, nobody there. So I'm like, what the fuck? And maybe like one or two people there, but nobody came in.
Right.
Now, there is on the other side of the wall from the bathroom, there is the break room. So, maybe there's a possibility that someone went in and out of the break room. I don't know, but I'm telling you, I've been there at times when there's almost no one there. And I highly question that. Now, there was a girl I knew who worked, I was on the 5th floor. She was on the 6th floor, and I knew her. And she mentioned to me one time, she's like, if I remember correctly, I think she came down to my desk. And again, this was like overtime. And there was no one there. And she had told me, she goes, is there anyone? She was asking, like, is there anyone here? I'm like, no, it's just like me and maybe someone down there. She's like, I swear to God, I've heard people walking on our floor by the cubicles, and she'd look up over the wall and there's nobody there because she'd be looking up like, oh, who's here? There's nobody there, but she's hearing the walking, man. No joke. No joke. Numerous times this has happened with her. So I told her my stories and she's like, I'm not surprised. Like,
Yeah.
It's weird, So, who knows? Who knows? I mean, you also have, you also have the human brain. Our brain plays tricks on us all the time, and how many things happen routinely to us daily that you could maybe think you're hearing something just because you do hear it all the time and it's not really happening. Who knows? But
I mean, I do get phantom vibrations like for a phone that I'm not carrying. I also hear my phone go off sometimes when it doesn't. Like, so I mean,
yeah, I've heard that. I've had that happen to me with my phone before, with the vibrations, and I'm like, oh, I pick it up and I'm like, there's nothing.
My watch, like, I swear I feel this thing vibrate and I'll look at it and there's no notification and I'm like, okay.
There's a thing that's a whole thing,
Yep.
and basically having to do with it's just constantly there. You always feel it. It's there. So now you kind of like feel it when it's not happening. It's just a trick of the brain. There's a video of a guy. He sits down at a table. He takes his hands, places them down on the table. So one hand he moves over a little bit farther, and this guy there's a wall there, like a wooden wall, so that his hand, say his right hand, is on the other side of that wall, so he can't visually see his hand. And what this guy does is he gets a big rubber arm with a rubber hand and places it on the table in front of him. He kind of hooks it into his long shirt or jacket or whatever.
Yeah.
And what he does is it's all a visual perception trick of the brain. So what he does is this guy reaches over and he takes these little tickle things like feathers or something, right? He puts one on the guy's right hand. At the same time, he puts one on this fake rubber hand, which is the hand he can see. So while he's seeing this guy do this with the feather, he's also doing it with the feather on his real hand. So he can actually feel it. But visually, when he feels it, he's seeing it on this fake hand. So he does a few different tests that way to get him used to it. And then basically he takes a hammer and slams the shit out of the rubber hand, and the guy's like, ah! Like, almost like he felt it or thought he felt it, but he didn't.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So, moving on. Another story from Alex. So he used to work at the riverfront restaurants. I think that's kind of clear by saying he worked at the Golden Horseshoe. It's in one of the riverfront restaurants. These were are in Frontierland, Frontierland/Adventureland area. He was a busboy. One night, a lead told him to get. There was a bunch of food trays from Fantasyland that always wound up over there. He told him to get all those gathered up and take them back over to Fantasyland. So he did. Now keep in mind, this is at night, right after the park closes. You know, they got to clean the stuff up, so there's no one there. So let's see. We got the picture there. We got those pictures again. Maybe we don't even need those ones. Which ones are we on here? Oh yeah, here we go.
Okay.
There's the pictures we want. So he would use Big Thunder Trail. So Big Thunder Trail, you've heard of Big Thunder Mountain, the ride?
Yeah, Thunder Mountain, yeah.
Very highly popular ride, very fun. He would use Big Thunder Trail to get to basically where he was going. At night, the lights were off, but the sound from the rides were, well, still on. You know, in case there's any people left in the park. You know, Disney is very good about keeping the
image.
Yeah, and I got a quick story for you on that. I watched from him last night. Pretty interesting. Shows you what money can buy. So the lights were off, but you could still hear the sounds from the ride. So that could keep it kind of creepy, you know. And as you're by Big Thunder Mountain, the noises you're hearing, like he mentioned, are like coyotes and the ride noises because they're like some automated noises. So he'd use a flashlight. And this one night, he was walking back and he had a feeling, you know, that feeling of being watched, like someone's watching you.
Absolutely.
Just always creepy. Now, before I finish this one, it's quick. You see the picture of Big Thunder Trail there. It's a pretty wide trail, you know, so you could walk in the middle of that and not feel too weird that there's something watching you in the bushes, you know. Here's another snapshot. Now, this one's a little more close quartered for me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'd use a flashlight. He had this feeling he was being watched. He goes, all of a sudden, I felt 3 or 4 taps on my shoulder. He goes, he basically threw his arms up and he turned around and obviously there's nobody there. And, you know, he even mentioned it's a wide walkway where this happened. So it's probably around this portion right here. Yeah. So, you know, pretty interesting. Let's see here. We'll move on to his next one here. What?
Speaking of being watched, I recently had an experience where I felt that feeling because we were in Tennessee this previous weekend, and we were doing, like, on the way back, I saw, like, Civil War battlefield, and I was like, we're going. Like, just randomly on the side of the road, I was like, we're going. So we get there, and we're hiking to the actual battlefield. The battlefield was a hill that was like the biggest fucking hill. It was so horrible. It was called Indiana Knob, Indiana Knob. Who's your knob? Who's your knob? That's what it was. Who's your knob?
We'll stay at the bottom.
But and it oh god, well, we made it to the top. It was actually really cool. It was like the actual first like battle of the Civil War. Look it up, people. But when we got back to the car, I looked at him and I was like, "Did you feel anything out there?" And he was like, "Oh, that we were being watched." And I was like, Okay, cool. It wasn't just me. Like,
Oh
it had gotten
wow.
to the point where I was getting so freaked out that I thought somebody was following us that I literally had my phone and was like looking over my shoulder with it, like
Was this
trying to take.
daytime?
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
even worse because you
Oh
can
God.
easily see there's nobody there.
When I was looking through my camera over my shoulder, I 100% expected to see
Wow.
something. Fuck Bigfoot, a mountain lion, a human. I didn't know, but I
Bigfoot.
just needed
Let's pick real things that we
I
know are
needed to
real.
see something in order to just not feel like I was going crazy. But yeah, we both
Wow.
had a very intense feeling of being watched because we were the only ones out there on the trail. The only time we actually ever saw anyone was when we were first pulling in because people were walking off the trail.
Yeah.
And when we were coming back off our trail, there was another memorial trail that people were coming up off of as well. Hadn't seen them, hadn't heard them that entire time up until that point. So
Yeah.
and the trail went in a different direction than the one so we were on, and I was, but
See,
the
you tell
Civil
me
War
you
battle
felt.
site,
Well,
creepy.
I guess this just happened. Yeah. I mean, what do you think the possibility of there being an animal around there hiding somewhere watching? Some
So
type of predator that
that's
was just
another thing I
watching.
was thinking, like a mountain lion or something,
Right.
because like they will stalk you from behind, which is one of the reasons
Oh
why I
yeah.
was looking over my shoulder with my camera, because I was like, motherfucker, if it's a mountain lion behind me, I am gonna shit and scream.
Yeah.
But no, like nothing. So but he felt it
Like
as
anywhere for
well.
him to hide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was Tennessee, so I mean, like, if you've ever been in Tennessee, it's like really like the woods are thick there, but we were close enough to Kentucky where it started to like thin out a lot, so you could see, pretty far into the brush. You couldn't
Yeah.
walk around if like unless you're a large cat, you wouldn't be able to walk around without making noise. Kind of like how you had your experience. It was the same setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Mm,
Ugh.
definitely was being
Hey.
watched by something, but I again, I've also said I feel like I'm very sensitive to that because I've been feeling like
Well, you are very sensitive.
presences. Yeah, I really am a sensitive ass
No.
bitch. But no, I've been sensitive
No,
to
you're
like the
not.
paranormal since I was a child.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we
Okay.
both felt that. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. We've all had that feeling, and I mean,
I hate it.
whether there's an
I hate it.
explanation or not. It's a creepy feeling, But one of
I
your
don't like
senses
it.
that helps keep you safe. You know. So.
Thank you, lizard
All right.
brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Reptilians. All right. So his next story. Check out this picture. How would you like to be in that tunnel alone?
Oh, absolutely the fuck not. Day or
No.
night, you aren't going to catch me in there by
No.
myself. No,
Yeah,
sir.
day or night doesn't matter because your only light is in this tunnel. Yeah, so this tunnel goes under Tomorrowland. So he used that tunnel one night. We've all heard that Disneyland has a ton of tunnels underneath.
Yeah.
That's how they hide all this stuff you're seeing, the wires,
Yeah,
the
it makes
piping,
sense.
electrical, all that shit.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And they're quick ways for employees to boom,
Get
straight
places.
shots to different places they need to go, right?
Yeah, a lot of
Especially,
characters
some of
will
the
use that.
actors.
Yeah, the characters
Yeah,
will use
yeah.
them so they can avoid getting caught up by children. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he was in there one night and he felt cold, and he felt like he had this feeling that he was not wanted. I'm getting the chills right now just thinking about being in that situation because you're stuck in here, man. You're stuck. Like you have a long way to go to.
You can either continue
side.
going the direction you're going, or you can nope it right back to where you were. But either way,
You got to walk through that.
yeah,
Yeah. So he said he felt what felt like a cold hand grab his arm and pull. This is the one. I'm sorry. The previous one wasn't the one where he held up his hands. This is the one. He felt what felt like a cold hand grab his arm. So he threw his hands up and looked, and there's no one there. He said that he never really thought it could be paranormal until he started working at the Golden Horseshoe, because that's when he really started hearing the stories and people started telling him the place is haunted. And so basically from what he's saying, he just kind of passed it off. He didn't really think of paranormal.
how can you just? I'm sorry, but if I felt something cold grab my arm when there was no one else around, my brain goes immediately to paranormal.
He's describing what it felt like to him. So that's probably all he was doing at the time was,
Mm,
geez, it felt like a cold hand grabbed me, um,
gross.
and if your mind frame isn't totally into paranormal in any
Mm.
way, shape, or
You will
form,
find a
and
logical reason. Yeah.
well, you would still at least pass it off, whether you
Yeah.
come up with something or not. But who knows? Oh boy, these stories, I'm telling you, they were really interesting. So back to the Golden Horseshoe.
Mm.
The Golden Horseshoe, as you see in this photo, has a bunch of mirrors in it.
Mm.
We're already going to get a little freaky here with mirrors, right? And
Mm.
they're all around the bottom level. He said that he would, no joke, see people in the mirrors looking at him. He said he would look around at the customers and everyone was just doing their thing. There's no one around the spot that you see in the reflection of the mirrors that was actually looking that way or looking in the mirrors or whatever. He said he looked around and there was nobody looking that direction that would be looking at him through the mirrors. He's not the only one with those types of stories either. So here's a closer up view of those mirrors. And you imagine working in there and you have that view and you look and there's someone just staring at you and you look around and you don't even see that particular person, I mean,
Oh, yeesh.
Man.
It's like it's like taking a picture of your house and then
Yep.
noticing what's in your window upon developing of the pictures. Not even like in the old days, developing of the pictures
Yeah.
where you're just like, I mean, yeah, digital cameras now, but like the really good ones you see on actual printed film,
Mm-hmm.
where it's
Yeah.
like, what in the actual fuck is watching you from your own house?
Hey, I mean, you never know.
Hey, it could have just been grandma
never
peeking
know.
out the window because she was pissed off. You never know. But
Right. Yeah.
because they were
Well-
homely looking fuckers back then.
Yeah, very. Especially depending on the area. All right, so we have the best two stories for last here.
Sweet.
One of them kind of leads into the other.
Sweet.
These ones, well, we'll get to this. Let's just start with this one. So again, boom, Golden Horseshoe right there. So this was after he had just started working at Disneyland. So he was a newer employee. He did not
Is it
know
like
yet
a walk up and you order and they deliver it to you type thing? Or
I'm not sure. You might
Okay.
get your food and bring it to your table, or get up and get it when it's ready. I don't know. I mean, doesn't matter. Why are you diverting?
I'm not, but I can divert and tell you that I see Ariel and Eric right there ordering food. No, I was just trying to get like an idea
Yes.
of the place. I've never been there. so-
That's a thing. People go there. I mean, you see
Dress up as
when you go,
characters.
you see a lot of people but they're not dressed up well either. They look.
It's like the
horrible.
Ren Fair for Disney fans.
Whatever.
Did I touch a nerve on that one?
Whatever. No, it's just I understand little boys and little girls of a certain age or under wanting to. Yeah, 100%. But we're
Nerds,
talking
man.
we're not even
Nerds.
talking teenagers. We're talking
I'm talking
20s.
full-ass
We're talking
adults.
30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yep.
And once you get to a certain age, like 65 and older, then it becomes okay again. In my book. Because you deserve it. But past a certain age and before a certain age, right there in the middle,
There's
it's
like
not
a
okay.
middle age where it's not.
Don't go to Disneyland looking for a date. So, anyways, 2009, he was a new employee.
Yeah.
Working at Golden Horseshoe. He did not know yet that the Golden Horseshoe was haunted. So this one is the blonde girl. No, we don't have pictures of the blonde girl, but at the daytime shifts between shows, people would see the curtains rustling. And I showed you a previous picture. Let's see if we have it again here. There's the stage with the curtains there. So obviously when there's no show happening, curtains are closed. So during the day, people would see the curtains moving, rustling. Sometimes it was employees who were behind, backstage. But sometimes employees that were up there, they would go somewhere else, to go eat, take breaks, do whatever they were doing, work somewhere else when they were not backstage. Several times, this is straight from him. Several times he heard guests would say that they saw a little girl running around on the stage. So he would basically go up there and check behind the curtain. And again, common theme here, there's nobody back there. One time, someone complained a little girl ran up on the stage. Alex said that he saw the curtains rustling. He looked up when the person told him he saw the curtains moving. So he went up on the stage behind the curtains. He heard giggling. I'm getting the chills again. He heard giggling. He heard feet running. He described it as pitter patter, someone
Small
running,
child. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, so he specifically said in quotes, he goes, "Hello, hey kid, I can't be back here." He said there was no response and there was no one there.
Mm-hmm.
But after he said that, he heard the feet run by him again on front of this on front of the stage, and the curtains, he saw them moving again. He looked on the other side and there was nobody there. He said this room back there, the stage behind the curtains, is just wide open with nowhere to hide. So he couldn't have just someone be back there and he immediately goes and looks and they just jump behind a box or something.
Right.
So he had heard stories of a little blonde girl who would walk up to families and try to talk to them, but wouldn't really say much and kind of just zone out. Yeah. Kind of freaky,
Yeah.
if you ask me. And if you're in a situation, you're not going to know what to think of that. And you're just like, okay, well, who knows? I know that this picture matters, but now we're going to get into the last story. And this is when I first saw one of these 3 videos a year or two ago. This is the story that stuck with me, which is why we're doing it tonight, because I've remembered this story. I've actually told it to a couple people. I'm like, man, get this guy's story. Like, and I really believe him. Like, you go watch him, just watch one of his videos, any video, you'll see like he's a super genuine person. Like he's really does not seem like he's bullshitting or anything, which is also why I try to contact him and see, because I believe him,
Yeah.
So pay attention. One night he was working closing shift. He was closing with a coworker, so it was him and another person. This was about half an hour before the restaurant closed, so there were still people in there. He said that there was a family of 4 people. This was 2 adults and 2 kids, and they got their food and they sat down on the second level. So that would be the view you're looking from right there.
Yeah.
They sat down on the second level. Alex and a coworker, they were standing in a corner talking about the ghosts or the ghost stories that they'd heard or witnessed or whatever at Disneyland, at the Golden Horseshoe or whatnot. They happened to be talking about the little blonde girl at the time. Now, this family, they happened to be sitting with a blonde girl, and this girl kept turning around and looking at them as if, this is according to him, as if she was trying to listen to them to hear what they were saying. So they kind of quieted down. He said they realized she could probably hear him. They didn't want to upset anyone because obviously they'd probably get in trouble for that if someone complained. They're very strict there on certain things, and they want to create and keep a certain experience for you there, and it works really well.
Oh yeah.
So they quieted down. So the girl got up and walked over to them and asked if the place is haunted. So they told her no, and they asked why. And the girl said that she thinks she just saw a ghost. So the coworker walked her back to the table. Now it's getting close to midnight, and the remaining guests in the restaurant started leaving. So the last family to leave was this family of 4. The 2 parents and the son So 3 of them got up. They started walking out, and as they're walking out, Alex, the historian, the guy telling the story, he walked up to them and asked them where their little girl was. And the adults asked him, they said, "Little girl?" And he goes, I told him, "Yeah, we saw a little girl, your daughter, sitting with you." They said, "We don't have a daughter. We just came with our son." So they walked out, and Alex and the coworker shut the door. They looked around and obviously didn't find the girl. They said the girl was with the family the entire time, but didn't interact with the family. Now, if that's not freaky, imagine that happening, and this thing came up to you and talked to you, and you talked back to it, not to realize until a half an hour later that you just got punked by a ghost.
That's really interesting. That's probably the
Yeah.
most like
Yeah.
long-term happening like full
Yeah.
apparition I've ever heard of.
Now, I there's one thing that I've questioned out of that story. I just keep thinking about, and it was when the little girl went up to them and was like, "Is this place haunted?" And they're like, "Huh?" And she said, "Well, I think I saw a ghost." Where Alex said his coworker walked the girl back to the table. So I'm thinking to myself, well, you clearly have 3 real people sitting at this table, and how exactly did he take her back to the table? Did he just
Right.
walk over there with her and kept walking as it appeared she sat down? Or did he go back over there and like say something to these people? Because that would
Right.
have been super odd for them. They would have been like, "Who the fuck are you? Like, what are you talking about, dude? You're crazy,
Yeah.
So, it's just there's some details left out that I would like to hear how that particular portion went down.
Yeah.
But either way, that's a freaky story.
That is.
That's freaky because if
Hmm.
the stuff's real, you
Mm.
literally just had an interaction that you had no clue about and you thought was 100% real.
Mhm.
You find out a half an hour later, like, oh man, you just got screwed by a ghost, man. You just got a nice little prank played on you.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So like another question that I have is like, why is there a
Mhm.
ghost of a little girl at Disneyland? Like what happened? Like I've
Who
always been
knows?
under the impression that like spirits tend to linger where where either they died or they have the most connection to. But like
Right. I'm not a believer or a disbeliever in the paranormal.
mm,
Um, the way I look at it is kind of like this whole UFO thing. We know UFOs don't mean aliens; they're just unidentified objects. But right now, I'm going to speak about UFOs in the sense of alien ships from somewhere other than our planet with some of the life forms on board. I mean,
biologicals,
it's the same.
non-human.
It's the same type of thing. It's like it's easier to disbelieve
Mhm.
in something like aliens or the paranormal
Mhm.
than it is to believe in it. However, you have to look at the fact that there's so many stories of these things from legit credible people going way back. There's got to be something to it. Whatever that
Yeah.
something is anyone's guess. There's got to be something to it. Not every single
sure.
one of these people are lying.
Yeah.
I told you about my experience in the bathrooms at work, right?
Mhm,
Similar to
mhm.
Alex's story. And I'm not claiming paranormal. What I'm claiming is really fucking weird. And there was at least 1 or 2 times it happened where there was almost no one there. And
Mhm.
I got out of there immediately, and there should have been someone there. And I even looked in the break room one of those times. There's no one there, dude. I walked the floor after one of those instances. There was no one there. So, I'm not jumping to paranormal, but then again, I'm not discounting it because I can't explain why I heard that. Was it just a
Right.
trick of my brain because I'm used to hearing it? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I agree. It's
Mhm.
I don't know. Well, you want to hear a really interesting story? I watched this video last night on Disneyland, and Walt was very into. You see it today, very into keeping Disneyland let me just
The
say, when you go
happiest
to
place on earth.
no, well, yes, but when you go to Disneyland, you really feel like you're in a completely different place. You can't see
Mm-hmm.
you can't even see the outside world except for maybe one
Mm-mm.
or two spots like the monorail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder about that, like how are they able to accomplish that? Dude, I watched this video last night. They have what's called the I think it was called the Disneyland Circle.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, there's a radius going out from Disneyland, like miles, and or maybe not even miles. I think it might be up to like half a mile, about 2,000 feet or so.
Mm.
Basically, there was people that wanted to build hotels, and Walt was like, "Oh hell no, yes, but no skyscrapers. I don't want this shit seen from in the park." So he went to the city, and somehow they were able to come to an
Agreement.
agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So in this radius, there's different distances of radiuses, like 3 or 4 distances. So
Mm-hmm.
within a particular distance, the first radius of Disneyland, um, no building can be over a certain height. The next radius, they can be a little bit higher. The next one higher. The next one higher, and then from there, anything goes.
That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
Jesus, man. I mean, it works.
Yeah,
It definitely
the
works.
intense amount of detailed thought
Oh
that went
yeah.
into it is an absolute marvel. Like,
He wanted the park clean,
mm,
everything to look always clean, and it does. I
hmm
mean,
it does, yeah.
you feel it when you're there. It's
Hmm.
it's crazy.
I remember Disney World a little bit more than Disneyland. Like I said, you know how young I was when I was there last. Like,
Speak up into that mic there, Stevie.
shit, my bad. I said
There we
I remember
go.
Disney World
Hey,
more than
hey, you got
Disneyland.
you got 2 hands. Your fingers are useful. Grab the mic. See, you can sit back. Just grab the mic. My daughter the other day, we came home from school. I was talking to her that night, and she goes, "Oh, haha, mommy packed Jello for me today." So she goes, "I used my fingers to eat the Jello. My fingers were all red." I'm like, "Why did you use your fingers to eat the Jello? We pack a spoon for you, you know?
Hmm.
Like, why'd you use your fingers to eat the Jello?" She goes, "Because my fingers are useful." So,
She's
anyways,
not wrong.
Why do you remember Disney World?
So I was older when I went to Disney World versus like you know how young I was. I was super
Yeah.
young when I went to Disneyland. So that's just why I remember. Like I remember a couple of things from Disneyland. Like
Mm-hmm.
3 things stick out to me pretty clearly, and one of them is the absolute fear I had on the Peter Pan ride.
I love that ride. I still like that ride because you're kind of flying,
Scared
you
the
know?
fuck out of me because I did like that's the thing. I thought
What?
like I couldn't see the bottom because of how it's designed. I couldn't see the track that we were on, and I couldn't see the bottom, and I was just like, like
The
I as a kid
you
was terrified.
the track's above you on Peter Pan.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I couldn't see it.
I
Like
know.
that's what
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was below or above. I couldn't see both, and I was just as a kid, I was so scared. And then I remember the Pirates of the Caribbean and
Yeah.
the skull
Oh, I
ring
love
I
that
got
ride.
after that that had red gems for eyes.
Yeah.
Don't know why those are the 3 things I remember, but that's what it is.
Peter Pan's great. Pirates of the Caribbean is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All their rides are great. Even those small, meant more for kid rides like Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Mad Hatter. They're all good even for adults. People love them.
Yeah, I don't know. Disney World
Yeah.
I remember a little bit more of, but
Oh, there we go. That's better.
But honestly, the one that I remember the most of is Cedar Point, and y'all will never understand the absolute true glory of Cedar Point.
I've been there. I remember it.
From how long ago,
I've been there
though?
once.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a long time ago,
It
but
was
I
like probably
remember it.
what?
And I gotta say, so I've been to Disneyland. I've been to Knott's Berry Farm, which is very close to Disneyland.
Mhm.
Walt, by the way, was friends with the guy who came up with Knott's Berry Farm.
That doesn't
Even
surprise me
even no,
whatsoever.
even took a idea from him that he used in Knott's Berry Farm, so Walt used it. And I've been to Magic Mountain, which is hour and a half drive. And I've been to Cedar Point. I will say, Magic Mountain is more like Cedar Point. You got 100% adult rides. They're upside down. They're fast. All that stuff. I've been to Cedar Point once, and I don't even know how old I was. The best parks I've been to starts with Disneyland number 1. Cedar Point would be number 2. Been there once. It was a long time ago. So how much do I remember?
So much better.
I remember it's better than Knott's and Magic Mountain.
I mean, shit. Cedar Point just gets better and better every year. Like that will always forever be my number one. And I've been to Busch Gardens, both Disney's.
Yeah.
I've been to multiple Busch Gardens. Like I've been to a couple,
Tons of guys have been to Busch Gardens. Shitty jokes. Come on, they're always funny.
Terrible.
They might be terrible, but they're funny.
but yeah, Cedar Point still number one. I can't wait to go. Like, I need to go again because they tore down the log ride. You know those old school rides that you go up in a log and you come down. Yeah, they tore that all down, and they introduced a new ride called the Maverick, and that fucker flips you every which way and spins and goes super fast. And I'm like, that's the bitch I like to ride, because I don't like the really tall ones because not a big fan of the whole heights thing. But if you make me sick on the ride, we're good. That's the best.
Yeah.
Spin me around, make it so I can't walk straight when I'm done.
I can handle most rides. You know what? I went on it at the fair recently because I wanted to talk my daughter into going on it because we went on it last year, and I know that she might be scared of those bigger things, but I know she really wants to go on them. So I've talked to her about, hey, if you really don't want to go on, you don't have to, but I'm urging you to because you went on it last year and you loved it, and I know you will regret not doing it. And then I explain regret to her and go, basically, if you don't do it, because she had already told me she wanted to. We purposely walked all this distance to go over there to go on this ride. And she's like, nope. And they were the swings. Now, they aren't just normal swings at the fair. When you get on, as it starts spinning, they go up super high. And obviously, when you're on the ground looking up, they don't look too terribly high. But once you're up there,
like, oh shit.
Yeah, you feel like you're on the Empire State Building. And,
not only that, but as you're swinging, if in my brain, if that breaks, I am flying into I don't know what. So I get it.
Yeah, and I tell her, I'm like, if you don't do it, what's going to happen is later, after we get home or tomorrow, you're going to wish that you had gone on it, and you're going to think about that for a while, and it's not a fun feeling. That's regret, I know you want to do it, and I know you like those things, so just try it. Nothing's going to happen to you. Just sit in the swing. But she did ask about, getting hurt on it and all this. I go, you know what? Here's the way I look at it. I go, that goes through my mind too. Like you just said, Stevie, what if the chains break? I go, look how high we are. If these chains break and we fall to the ground, you're not going to feel a thing. Whether you die or you live, you're going to be unconscious immediately. You're not going to feel a thing. I'm like, so there's nothing to worry about.
That's one way
if
to
it's
look
going to
at
happen,
it.
it's going
for
to happen.
Sure. Yeah.
But so that is the end of the Disneyland hauntings. I'm sure there's a ton more. Yeah. But I wanted this guy's stories. I wanted to show his stories because all of these are from him, experiences he's had, and he seems completely legit. I don't feel, my BS meter turned off watching his,
Right.
So, I believe him. I believe he had some experiences there, and what they were, paranormal, possibly. Something else, possibly. I don't know. What do you think about these stories?
I look, so I'm, like I already said, a hardcore paranormal believer. So there's just some things that you can't explain, and people say, oh, the creaking is a house settling. Well, a building doesn't settle. Like, especially in the ways of making it sound like a door opening and water turning
Well,
on.
you gotta remember, people use a huge chunk of the time, people use verbiage that they know
Mm.
to describe things. And when someone says, "Oh, it's the house settling," that's just what they've always used because that's probably what they've always heard,
Yeah.
from their parents. And if they actually thought about it for a minute, they would probably realize, well, I don't really mean settling. For me, I would say, hey, it's the house settling. But what I really mean is, oh, well, it's actually pretty hot here during the day, and at night it starts cooling down. So,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, if I go out in the garage and I open up the door and turn a fan on, um, an hour after the sun goes down, it's actually really cool outside
Mm-hmm.
right now. And I start cooling down inside, and all this wood, up in the garage starts cooling down, gets
Mm-hmm.
cool air on it. I
Starts shrinking.
I hear it every single time. I hear
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like a thump up there, like someone's upstairs walking right above, just thump,
Mm-hmm.
every single time in the same
Yeah.
area. So
Yeah.
it's the house settling, no, but I could see someone saying that, and
Mm-hmm.
what you're really meaning is, it's a change in the temperature. You have expansion and contraction. That's all it is. I think
Yeah.
that's all people mean. They
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah. Well,
they
I
just
think
don't
when they
think
mean
about it.
settling, like it's settling back into like normal state versus
No, it's
hot or
not like they
cold.
mean
I don't
the
know.
concrete slab was just
No, I'm
poured
not
and it's
saying that.
settling.
I'm saying like the house itself is like settling back into its like base status.
Yeah,
Like it's not
yeah.
swollen because it's hot. It's not shrunk because it's cold. It's settling back into its base status. But like I was
But I
saying though,
mean,
like
couldn't
you
that be?
can't like buildings don't do that, especially concrete buildings don't do that. So just it's very interesting.
Yeah,
I personally absolutely 100% believe him. Especially that
yeah,
poor girl getting locked in a storeroom that doesn't lock, like especially for 10 minutes. Like if she was truly like had to go see a doctor from that because she was like mentally it was just like traumatized. Like
yeah.
I don't
That's a
know,
lot.
I believe I yeah, I don't know, I believe it personally.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, why wouldn't it be haunted, whether it be the land or people having an attachment to that place to the point where they revisit after passing? I don't
right.
know, but there's just
you
I
know,
don't know,
you
can't deny
you
some
know,
things.
we've always heard with paranormal, that I know you'll agree with this. I'm sure you're versed on this. That one of the ideas is that the energy from people, from the house, whatever, kind of stays in the walls, in the
Mm-hmm.
structure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you think of it along those lines, in a place like Disneyland, well, ultimately Disneyland really hasn't been around that long.
Mm-mm.
I mean, yeah, it was built, what,
50s, I think.
I think in the 50s, could be wrong. Um, so we're getting close to 100 years, but um, in the grand scheme of humans, that's not that long.
Mm-mm.
Technologically, I guess that's probably pretty long. But
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, um, the amount of people that go through there just in one day. So if you want to talk about energy, just energy from people, the
Mm-hmm.
amount of energy from people traveling through each of those buildings for the rides, the restaurants, the
Mm-hmm.
stores, everything is insane. So, maybe there is something to it, I don't know. But we've always heard that's a common theme with paranormal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so the like resounding energy that like say it's not a how do they say it's not a conscious haunting. Uh it's like it's just a residual energy. Like
Yeah.
it's something that they did very often all the time. So
It's kind
like
of like a
example,
playback,
the walking yeah,
like a
it's
movie on
exactly that. It's just
on
like a
repeat.
3-second playback of like someone's like everyday routine, like
Yeah.
something that they did. But the whole like you would really have to expend amount like a large amount of energy into one place for that to be like the place that you get called back to when you passed. Like
Well, Yeah, you know a lot of these stories that you hear that with, at least that I've heard, is things where people died, usually from some type of traumatic death, whether it was like
They'll
torturous, a
get stuck
murder,
at
things
that
like that.
particular place too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard that. Again, never been dead. Can't really answer these things for you, truly, but I can
yeah.
speculate. I can assume, and
Would you be able to answer them if you have died?
absolutely, absolutely. But we would be talking through a
Yeah.
medium at that point, so
Well, I don't know. So you could find me a really believable medium.
right.
You know, I knew someone once whose mom did that. She had a normal job, what we would consider a normal job. She's a teacher, and but she did this totally on the side, out of her house. She, to my knowledge, didn't charge or anything. And I knew the mom. She was a very nice person. She's not the type that's sitting there, because you always hear about mediums like lying to people, like it's actually
Miss
not
Cleo.
that hard to do. Yeah, it's not that
Yeah.
hard to do. You just start asking questions and people tell you without even realizing things.
Not only that, but in the age of the internet, you can look people up online very quickly.
Well, now, yeah, but she seemed legit. I never had it done on me. I was just like, I'm good, But I knew her, and she's not a bullshitter, so I don't see her playing games, But who knows? Yeah, we'd be talking through a medium.
Yep, but no, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
I've seen just so many firsthand accounts from all over the nation of people who work at restaurants and experience things very similar to that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do,
Wow.
but I've also had my own personal experiences with the paranormal, so maybe that's why I'm more inclined to believe than say another.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those stories were all from Alex, the Historian's YouTube channel. You guys
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. You guys should definitely go check him out. Really nice guy, cool guy, believable. In other words, like I said, my BS meter turned off. I totally believe the guy. Check him out. He's got other cool stuff up there. He's not into paranormal. He's obviously, his channel is Alex the Historian. So, check him out. Good stories. Hopefully hear back from him one day. That'd be cool if he'd actually come on, because he lives in the area too, which is good. So share, subscribe, comment down below your typical BS. If you have a obscure story of your own, shoot us an email, obscuredr1@gmail.com. Type story in the subject line so we know what it is. Tell us your story. We want to tell it for you if you don't want to tell it. If you do want to tell it, hey, you can easily come on the show. It's simple to do. Walk you through it. It's cake. And you can tell your own story if you'd like, audio only, or visually if you don't want to be anonymous, up to you. Stories? Well, like tonight's stories. You've had paranormal experiences. You've had paranormal experiences at Disneyland or Disney World or anywhere. Those types of stories would be great. Stevie's going to hit you up with the bell. Ring it.
Hit that bell to get the notifications every Friday of our new episodes that drop. 5 Pacific.
PM.
8
Pacific.
Yeah, PM. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Always got to find a way to tell me I'm doing that wrong.
No, you're the one who always says you're doing it wrong. So
hey, no, that time I got it right, but you had to throw in.
Well, I didn't mean the PM. I meant to throw in just the PST, but yeah, Pacific.
So sometimes we'll drop a little extra during the week, especially recently the congressional hearings. If it's permanent to something that is now in the news, we'll have a quick release. But other than that, you can look forward to every Friday night.
Pacific time, guys.
Pacific and Eastern. Imagine that.
Yes. Yeah. Yep, that works.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm out of here. I'm going to go try and conjure something up. I don't know what, but
don't use a Ouija board. The only thing I'm going to conjure up is sweet dreams.
That sounds good to me. All right. We're out of here. Peace out.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check back with us often for new episodes. Feel free to drop a comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obscured Reality.